Using an e-bike as an everyday commuter is a freaking blast. It's really convenient, especially for me living in New York City, because it's usually the fastest way for me to get anywhere. But the thing is, I had a terrible case of range anxiety. I had a 10 amp hour battery, which really could only take me one way to work, and it's like, this is the range that's average for most e-bikes. And since you can't really like refuel your bike, once you run out of battery, you're stuck there. There is no way to recharge because that takes 8 hours. So I needed a solution that I could actually go pretty far from my house, about 12 miles, and actually get back without having to recharge. So I devised a little solution so I could have a primary and auxiliary battery that tripled the amount of range that I previously had. My problem was I had two batteries with different amounts of capacity, so unfortunately you can't just kind of wire these up back to back. You can't put them in series, kind of like how the batteries are in your TV remote. I needed a way to actually switch between the two. That's why I remembered about three-way switches. These basically allow you to switch between two different sources and power one thing. So I was actually surprised this worked, since this is kind of meant for household lighting, but hey, electricity is electricity, so it worked. So let me show you kind of how I went about designing this. So both batteries have a plus, that is the power, and so does the controller have a power input and a return where the power goes back, because the power has to flow in a circle. So unfortunately, you can't just go and connect these, boop, 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 and then you just connect these, boop, 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 boop. And if you connected them at the terminal, it wouldn't make any difference. It would be basically the same thing. So unfortunately, you can't just do that. But here is where the three-way switch comes in. So let me just take a little three-way switch, and we're gonna put us two three-way switches. Now why is it not one? Well, because here I am, boop, and then I try to connect the two switches, so I go in, and then out. Well, what about my minuses? So unfortunately, you can't just flip one switch and have it switch between the two. You need two three-way switches. That way, you can actually connect also the returns and have it go into the controller. And from there, it goes into the wheel. Boom. So all I had to do was connect both power and return to a separate switch, connect them in, and when you flip both switches, boom, there you go, Bob's your uncle, you just switched your batteries. So now let's go and do this in real life. So you can see the first one is hooked up. You can, yep, so yep, you see all the blacks are hooked up, right, and they're connected back to the return. Now we gotta hook the hot and we're good. So I think it's done, as ugly as it looks. I think that is it. Now I'm gonna use it with one battery once so we don't get no unforeseen consequences. So we're gonna turn her on. Let's see, well, it's obviously not in the right position, so I have to fucking figure out which position I have to put it in. Oh my god, I don't know how many, oh! It's on. It's on. It's on. What the hell? This is not real right now, right? And let's test that it goes somewhere. It works. It actually works. What the fuck is wrong with this? How does this... I don't understand. I don't understand right now though. Is it moving? Oh, I was scared that the electricity was constantly... Right, well, it seems that currently This bitch is working. Oh, we got a little disconnect. Why did that happen? Oh, what's that mean? I don't like that. Oh, it disconnected from the red. Okay, cool. I can fix that. Tension here. You will notice this mess that it is the new three-way circuit up in this bitch that allows me to use both batteries. So if you look here, I'm going to turn this battery on, then currently it's on the other battery. I'm going to flip both switches, and then we're going to turn her on, and there she is. And now what we're going to do is I want to be safe about this, so I'm going to turn it off, turn off the battery, turn on this battery, flip both switches, turn it on. Boom, double battery setup. I gotta still fix this. It's a mess. I gotta put something here. So now, to finish this all off, I had to learn how to solder and then solder all the connections. Now the connections that I soldered are basically the ones that go from the three-way switch to the controller. There's some splices going on there, and they need to be soldered because you can't just pigtail splice them and expect them to work. You need some real connections to make sure that while you're riding around, the splices actually stay in place. That way I soldered the connections, and I also soldered the connections from the controller into the device that allows you to turn on the bike. That way I really had strong connections, making sure that the bike wouldn't just randomly turn off. So after, fuck, I stepped on the fucking solder. It's not that bad, it's not that bad. Fucking bitch, this shit is no joke. So, got all my connections soldered up, so now this shit should never break. You feel me? Hopefully this shit works out and doesn't break for a while. So there we are. I'm gonna tape all these up, and then we're done here. If this is even something I should be able to do, maybe these switches aren't rated the right way, or maybe I'm not getting as much voltage because it's going through the switches. I mean, obviously, because the current has to go through the switches, there is more resistance, so there should be a tiny amount, but I don't know how much. But I think for the most part, it worked out pretty well. It served me for a good month now, maybe. The second battery has saved me on countless occasions. Not only because it gives me the extra range, but because if something is wrong with the first battery, boom, switch to the second one, keep it moving. So, thank you for watching. Hopefully this has helped someone to make their own three-way setup. Maybe it'll help them so they can actually have a 2-battery setup. So thank you. Have a good one. Goodbye.